the second people I've shown this to. I just showed it to a group in the last hour, and I've been working on this project for about 20 years. So I see a lot of cameras off. So this is way better if it's engaging. But I'm going to show you what I have. Rather than tell you what I do, I thought it'd be fun if I share with you the challenges that other people have when they come to me. So typically, what I've been doing is collecting. I started my career off, I think Scott just mentioned it, as a Marine. And so I flew helicopter, insertion and extraction helicopters, and a bunch of different crew served airplanes, doing search and rescue work and putting special forces guy into spooky places. So bottom line is we never did a mission without first flying in the simulator where we could throw every single emergency at the pilots and the crew to get them ready. And if you didn't crash the simulator, you weren't doing it right. In other words, we just kept beating each other up so that when we got in the real scenario, it wouldn't be hard. And that's the way I look at sales too. I want to think of every possible way that the client can resist me. I used to call it objection handling. Now I call it resistance mitigation. Anybody care to tell me what the difference is between mitigating resistance and handling objections?
I would say
I
that you're
would
being
think,
more proactive about it.
yeah.
Ooh, I like that. I wasn't thinking that, so I like it even better. More proactive about it. What else?
Like a pain funnel instead of going right at them.
Ooh, Brian, you're touching on some cool words that we use here in Sandler. I want to figure out, do they have a challenge that'll make what I do relevant in the first place? Almost all resistance can be mitigated, can be lessened, can be taken care of with a preemptive strike. So when I was a kid, my dad played hockey in the Iron Leagues and at Brown in college, and he used to tell me, Timmy, every single time you go to the refrigerator, your brother takes a shot at you. How many more times are you gonna let him do that before you're gonna hit him first? And I'm like, "Did you run this by mom?" Right? But the same ideas matter. If you think they're gonna bring up price, then bring up price ahead of time. If you think they're going to say, send me something, then send me something ahead of time. If you think they're going to want to think it over, then bring it up ahead of time. So let me show you what my collection has turned into. So for the last 20 years, I've collected every possible objection. I'm up to 93. So, Scott, can you turn on the sharing ability for me?
Absolutely. And I apologize. I thought I did that. Here we go. Hold on one
No
second, Tim.
worries.
Only 93 objections in 20 years.
That's all I got. And remember, some of these are still repetitive. This is ridiculous.
Okay, Tim, it's all yours. Sorry.
All right. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Give me a thumbs up if you
You're
can.
gonna
So
sell
I know
cars
that.
for a couple of years. You'll double the list.
Well, maybe. Because here's one of the challenges I throw out to people. I should have maybe thrown this out to you. Like, how many objections do you think there are. And it's funny when I get in front of a big group of salespeople, especially when they're from the same company, I'm like, how many different ways can they say no thanks to you? Or can they resist you? What kind of stalls can they put up? What kind of smokescreen questions can they ask? What kind of statements that can they make? Or overt questions can they ask that you need to be ready for? So here's what I came up with: 93 mapped objections, three responses per objection, eight sources of leverage, and 12 tactics that they're going to use against you if you're not ready for them. What? That's what's in here. So the basics of it is I got to be say, okay, how are they resisting me? Exactly what did they say? And then which negotiation tactic could they be using against me right now? And if you don't know the 12 tactics, I'm going to show them to you, but they're out there. And then what Sandler tactic could I use? I can't remember who said it. I think it was Brian. Brian said the pain funnel. Okay, well, I'm going to use the pain funnel to find out, do they have a challenge that'll make what I do relevant in the first place? If they don't, you're wasting your time talking to them. How am I going to soften or acknowledge it? My favorite softener or acknowledgement when somebody asks me a question or makes a statement is, hey, thanks for bringing that up. I want to acknowledge that it wasn't a stupid question. Your teachers probably told you that when you were kids. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Well, they didn't meet Tim Goring. I can come up with some stupid questions. So the idea here is I want to acknowledge what they said. And then a reverse in our world is a clarification question. Usually, the question that people ask you is not the real question. For example, they say, when can we start? What could they really be saying?
How do I buy? How do I get started?
How do I get started? It might be the real question. It might be, when am I going to start seeing results? Or when am I going to be done with this project if I started it right now? How long am I going to have to do this? But we throw up these smokescreen questions because when we were little, our parents told us to do that. I'll give you an example. So little Timmy walks into the kitchen, 6-year-old Timmy walks in the kitchen and says, "Hey, mom, can I have a cookie?" And mom says, "No, Timmy, we're eating dinner in 15 minutes." Day two, I walk into the kitchen. I'm like, "Hey, mom, can I have a cookie?" And she's like, "No, Timmy, seriously, same thing every night. We eat dinner at 5 o'clock. No cookie till after dinner." Third day, I walk in. I'm like, "Hey, mom, can I have a cookie?" She's like, "Here we go, sport. If you ask me that one more time, not only are you not getting the cookie, you're also not getting dinner." Fourth day, I walk in. I'm like, "Hey, mom, when's dinner?" What does my mom think she taught me?
Stop asking for a cookie before dinner.
That's what she thinks she taught me. But
That's
what
what
she
that's the
really
question
taught
you
me
asked.
is, what's that, sir?
That's the question you asked. What she thought she taught you.
That's what she thought she taught me. But what she really teach me?
How to manipulate getting a cookie.
Right. Ask a smokescreen question first because you can't handle the truth, son. All right. So now grown up Tim, Scott says, "Timmy, you want to play poker on Friday night?" I'm like, "You bet I do. I just got to run it by my wife." Now, I don't go to my wife and be like, "Hey, I'm playing poker with Scott on Friday. Deal with it. Why not?"
Because divorce is expensive.
Yeah, there's a good reason. So instead, I throw up that smokescreen question that my mom taught me when I was 6, and I say, "Hey, what are we doing on Friday?" Ooh, now this is dangerous. It can go bad in one of two ways. The first way is she's like, "I was hoping we could go see my mom," and I'm like, "Ooh, I was wanting to play poker with Scott." To which she says, "Why didn't you just ask?" I'm like, "Because my mom taught me to ask smokescreen questions. I was afraid of the answer." So now I act like a jerk the whole time I go see her mom. She's like, "What's up with the attitude?" I'm like, "I really wanted to go play poker with Scott." She goes, "Next time, ask the real question." All right, here's how it also might go bad. She says nothing because in her head, she's thinking, "Timmy probably wants to take me out to dinner for some tapas at the fancy restaurant." And then she says nothing. And I'm like, "Cool. Okay, if I go play poker with Scott?" And she's like, "Fine." And I come home with all Scott's money in my pocket because I'm good at poker, right? And she's like, "Did you have fun?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." "What's up with the attitude?" And she said, "Well, when you asked me, what are we doing on Friday? I thought you wanted to do something special with me." I'm like, "Oh." So those smokescreen questions are dangerous. That's why, as fully grown professionals, when people ask you a question, you've got to acknowledge the question that was asked and clarify the question and make sure that was even the real question in the first place. What? Sometimes statements are more powerful than questions. Let me give you an example. Let's say you jump in an Uber driver's car and you're like, "Hey, man, what's it like being an Uber driver?" How long do you think they'll answer will be?
One word. It's fine. Great.
Yeah, probably right, John. But if I turn it into a statement, then they'll either affiliate or dispute. So I'll say something like this: "Man, I heard being an Uber driver is the best job in the world." And they're gonna be like, "No," or "It is." And then I'm like, "Really? What do you like about it?" And they're gonna keep talking because they can't wait to affiliate or dispute. Here's the quote: "The single strongest human instinct is to impart information. The second strongest human instinct is to resist it." So what I want to do is I want to trick them into, oh, that sounded dirty. I want to get them to impart the information. And then when I don't resist it, we're having a conversation like two full-grown adults. That's what I'm trying to do. So let me take you in here to my cool spreadsheet now and show you what I got. So all the tabs are under the blue. This isn't even available on the market yet. So here's the objection playbook. These are all 93 objections and they're categorized. So somebody want to give me an objection they normally get? You're trying to sell an NIA membership to somebody. What might they say?
I want to
Too
talk to my
expensive.
wife.
All right. I'm just going to put in talk. I'm not the right decision maker. We got to talk to your competitors. Let's see. Who else can I put in there? Fit and need. Let's see. Discuss it with others. Put in discuss. How are you different? That might not work for us. I heard other complaints. That didn't work the last time. Let's see. Fit and competition. Trying to figure where it might be. How are you different? Current situation. So anything I want, I can just type in something in there. Competition, for example. I got to talk to your competitors, or your competition seems to have it cheaper. Everything I could think of is in here. I can't find that exact one. I'm kind of bummed out. Let's see. How are you different? Give it to me again.
To talk to my boss. Need to talk to significant other.
Boss. Let's see if that works. I know I have one in here for it. I'm just trying to think of what the prompt needs to be. I need more information. I need to do this, that, or the other thing before it happens. I need to
sleep on it. That's a good one.
I need to sleep on it. So when you click on it, it'll give you what technique we have in the Sandler system that could have prevented it. And then how do I soften and reverse it? Or how can I negative reverse it?
Whose account?
I don't know. It was just sitting like they didn't have
Hang
no.
on a
Give me 1 second. If everyone would mute their screen, please.
Look,
Please mute.
Yes,
it was way
I
behind the
understand.
curtain.
If we don't know who's
Sorry,
in it.
Tim. I've just muted everyone. Sorry, Tim. Now you got to come off mute. Tim, you have to come off mute.
It's nice to have that power, isn't it, to mute everybody?
Yeah, sorry
I
about
wish
that.
you could unmute them too, because that's the hardest thing for people is once they're muted, they have a hard time finding that unmute button. All right, so here we are in the technique section. Every technique that we talk about, the soften and reverse, here's all my softeners. I appreciate you bringing that up. Gosh, that makes sense. That sounds important. That's a valid question. And there's some examples of ways that you can reverse it or clarify it with a question. Here's one of my favorite techniques for handling every single objection is called feel, felt, found. I'm not sure who invented this. I tried Googling it to give them credit for it, but here's what feel, felt, found looks like. Man, I can't imagine how you must feel. Help me understand what's going on here. Consensus. You're not the only one that's felt that way. And then what we found is, or hey, would you be open-minded to a story about what worked for others? So I can use any of these techniques. Once you get good at it, here's one of the things I love doing in training is you just spin my roulette wheel. What? And when it stops, this will change. Ooh, we're happy with our current situation. Great. How are you going to handle it? So that you can get good at all 93 objections out of order, out of sequence. And all the techniques are there. Are you guys familiar with DISC?
Yes.
All right, so I loaded all my favorite DISC stuff in here, D, I, S, and C. D's, their intent is to get it done. Their biggest fear is losing control. I've got to know how does each style object and how do I handle it? What? With D's, I try to be very direct. If I'm talking to an S, I need to take strong initiative, but I can't be as direct as I would have been. With C's, I need to take initiative gently. That's totally different than being direct with a D. Crazy as that sounds. My negative reverse, like if I'm going to take something away, a negative reverse is going the opposite direction that they expect you to go. So, for example, if I said to somebody, limit 5 per customer, what goes through your brain? You'll have to unmute to tell me.
They're
You got
saying
it,
that
Brian.
to create urgency.
Ooh, it does create urgency because when I restrict somebody's freedom, they're going to fight to restore it. So when I say limit 5 per customer, they immediately think, well, how do I get 6? Which is weirdly what I wanted them to think. If I use this on my kids and I'm like, hey, your mom's always talking about wearing seatbelts. Why do you think she does that? And the look on my face is struggling on purpose. They can't wait to tell me why mom says that. because they're going to try to restore their freedom, defend their mother against their father. Well, now it's their idea. Let their mouth convince their brain more efficiently than any evidence that you could provide by just asking them a question. What? So D's want to have an advantage. So no matter what they say to me, hey, you know what? I guess you're not worried about other people having an advantage over you if they're doing it. With an I, they've got different fears. They don't want to be ignored. They want the recognition. So I can say, hey, great stuff. Who might be disappointed in you if this doesn't change? What? By restricting their freedom, they'll fight to restore it. Those C's, their biggest fear is somebody criticizing them for getting it wrong. And they're trying to get it right, for goodness sakes. Hey, great catch. Why make changes that don't improve things the way in a noticeable way? Fair? What? When I restrict their freedom and I say, don't make changes, they're going to want to because they don't want to be criticized for getting it wrong. So, some of these, like the price objections, keep coming up over and over. Whenever I do resistance mitigation with clients, they always want to go to price. That's too expensive. Or I want to shop you to the competition. That's more than I wanted to spend. All those objections are in there. So I made a video with the top 10 preparation things that you can use. So you can click on any one of these. So let's see, let me just pick on one. Negative reverse selling, since I just did it. Oh, I gotta hang on a second. I gotta unshare it and share it with the sound just so you can see it. Optimize for sound. Back to the thing. Here we go. Now I'll click on this and watch what happens. This is crazy. It goes right to a me video explanation of what's going on. Timmy when he had a beard. I don't know. I thought I was going to be a mountain man for a little while. So it'll take me right to those videos. Let me go back to my, all right, buyer tactics. The buyer is going to use, these are the 12 tactics that a master negotiator will use against you if you're not ready for it. So sometimes when people bring up objections or stalls or make statements or ask questions, what they're really doing is trying to get you to lower your price. So whenever you throw out your price, they might do the flinch, be like, ugh, or even emotional outburst, like, what? That's way too expensive. But they're setting you up for, you know what, lower or higher authority. I don't think my boss is going to like this. I don't think my wife is going to like this. That might be a tactic. Hot potato, when they try to make their problems your problems. So all I'm trying to do right now is overwhelm you with my cool new website that's designed so that you understand what is this training thing that Tim was talking about? Well, the training thing, Sandler, just to give you a background on Sandler, Sandler's been around for 59 years. And I only know that because they've been around 1 year less than Timmy's been around. So Timmy turns 60 next week. And Sandler, what they decided to do was think about every single way the client has said no, or the meeting has gone wrong, or the sale hasn't gone the way they wanted it to, and then discuss as a group, what can I do to prevent that? And that's what the entire Sandler system is. 58 years of us trying to break the code of insanity. What's insanity? Anybody know the definition of insanity? You got it, Brent.
Doing the same thing over again, expecting a different result.
There you go. So if the same objections keep coming up to me, and like I said, I've only been able to come up with 93 of them, then why don't I just figure out how to handle every single one of them? Number one way is a preemptive strike on it. So in Sandler, we talk about communicating with people the way they want to be communicated with. We talk about aligning expectations. I got to figure out what their expectations are. I got to tell them mine. I got to make it okay for them to not like my way. And I got to get permission to push back on their way. I got to plot a path forward and I got to get their agreement on that. Then I got to find out, do they have a challenge that'll make what I do relevant? And I use the pain funnel that Brian mentioned for that. Gosh, what's going on? Can you give me an example? Can you be more specific? How long has that been happening? What'd you try to do already? Man, why didn't that work? What are the consequences of doing nothing? Is there an emotion associated with that? Is that satisfactory to you? From your perspective, what do we do next? And when I know my next 9 questions, I can head off almost all of the bad stuff that can happen to me ahead of time. So I can gain leverage and I can reduce vulnerability. And each one of these has a whole bunch of, I want to build a relationship. All right, great. Here's all the ways that I can build the relationship. Here's all my leverage questions that I can ask for that particular one. What? So there's a lot in here. It's a lifetime collection. And now this digital marketing guy put it all on a cool website for me. So we're 30 minutes in. Let me stop and say, what questions do you have for me?
I have a comment, Tim. I love the resistance mitigation. And for all of you who don't enjoy sales and you think about why you don't enjoy sales, it's typically because you don't enjoy overcoming objections. And so this becomes so much more comfortable way to present.
And Scott, what I really like about what you just said is the most common challenge that people present with when they're interviewing me as a coach is they tell me, well, I'm having trouble with my close rate. And I'm like, yeah, usually when people say they're having trouble closing, what they really mean is I'm having trouble opening, right? I'm having trouble heading off all their concerns early. And that's what the system is designed to do is to figure out how do I head off at the pass, everything that they might bring up later. Matter of fact, I had AI draw me a drawing about it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh yeah, this is good.
While you're looking for that, do you also find that most of the initial objections aren't the real objections? They're just the immediate defense mechanism to say, well, I'm just taught not to buy and say no immediately. It's kind of like when you walk into the store. Can I help you? No, I'm just browsing kind of mentality. And until you get to the real objection, you're not going to really find the source of their true pain and what you need to really overcome to close them, if you will.
You may hate this answer, but yes, sometimes. Like you're right on target. But I always hate the yes, sometimes stuff. But let
The
me
most popular brand of underwear depends.
yeah, it does depend. Well, but let me justify that just a little bit if you'll indulge me. Let me go back to that disc start chart. And let's say somebody says, send me something. Which style is least likely to say, send me something?
I mean, that should be.
High I.
Well, the eyes have a hidden agenda based on their fear. The eye wants you to like them. So this is me breaking up with every girl I ever broke up with, right? I'm like, it's not you, it's me. Like, I don't want to be in a relationship anymore, but can we still be friends? So when an eye says, send me something, what they're saying is, well, no is the answer, but I don't want to tell you no to your face because I still want you to like me. What? When an S says, send me something, what are they going to do with it? Knowing that their fear is disappointing the team and they want everybody just to get along. What's an S going to do when you send them something?
They might actually read it and research you, but they're probably not going to call you back unless you have, a follow-up call set up to review what they reviewed.
Yes and yes, right? So I
I'd
want to
say,
align expectations on when I should expect to hear from them, when they're going to look at what I sent them, what exactly they would like me to send them in the first place, because I don't want to be in brain jail and be too responsive and call them every day, or be not responsive enough and be cavalier about it. But typically, because they're afraid of disappointing the team, they're going to socialize it, which is different than a C. A C is going to analyze everything I send them. And the answer to my trick question was the D's aren't going to say, send me something. What are they going to say instead? Typically, yes or no. They're just going to give it to you straight. They're not worried about your feelings. They're not worried about the team. They're not worried about the details and analyzing it. It either was their idea and it was awesome and it's going to make them money or it's not.
do you think
So
there's a mix of them? I
definitely.
mean, I mean, because people can be straightforward with dominance, but care about the team.
100% agree with you. And by the way, that's what's neat about DISC is everybody's personality doesn't fall neatly into one quadrant. I'm an I, almost an S, so I'm on the line, which means most of the time I want to tell you a story and tell you a cooler joke than you just told me, but I cry in movies because I'm an almost an S. Right? So there are going to be people that are analytical. There are going to be people that are going to socialize things, but there's almost always a dominant style, and it's almost always tied to their intent or their fear. Competing intents. This guy's trying to get it done. This guy's trying to get it right. This guy's trying to get recognition. This guy's trying to get everybody to get along. When there's competing intent, there's opportunity for conflict. And I, as an expert communicator, have got to figure out how to resolve that conflict so we can move forward.
I would say it's more like D and C for me.
Tell me more.
I do analyze everything, but I'm very straightforward when I talk to people. I do care about the team and will help everyone and anyone on it when I can. And I always help customers. But I don't like being lied to, so I'm straightforward to people. Sometimes that might come out dominant, but it's the truth. That's really
I like that. Yeah, so you're a combo package also. So here's back to that other comment that I was making. It's a slight edge game, right? And so I just had AI draw this for me. If your close rate's 35, but you wish it was 90, then what do you got to do? Well, it's not like one trick. There's no such thing as scripting. However, if I can have a plan and execute on it, I get a 5% bump. If I can differentiate myself from all the other networking organizations that are out there, I get a 5% bump, dump. If I can modify my communication style for their disc communication style, I get a 5% bump. If I can align expectations on everything, 5%. If I can figure out their reasons for networking, 5%. If I can figure out if they're willing and able to invest the time and the money and the effort that it's going to take to be successful, 5%. If I can figure out how they make decisions, 5%. And so I guess what I'm trying to do is overwhelm you with how much information there is to know so that if you're thirsty enough and you want to see more, you'll engage either with the Sandler AI role play coach that NIA is using or with training with me. I do this every Tuesday at 10 o'clock Eastern via Zoom with about 40 or 50 professionals on there. You can check one out for free if you want to. And if you want to engage, we'll talk about it. Depending on how big your organization is and how big your problems are, you may sign up for a little bit, or you may just decide, heck, I'm going to read the book. I don't mind telling people you can get all this out of a book. And here's why I don't mind. Information and education is never going to yield transformation without application and modification. In other words, you got to try it in Timmy's little simulator that he built for objection handling and resistance mitigation. You got to try it until it breaks in an environment where it's safe to do so before you get into a live fire exercise with clients and prospective clients. They're going to spend time and money and effort with you if you're worth it.
Tim, do me a favor. Stop for a second and type in the chat exactly where they would go to experience, because these are business owners from all over the country who obviously rely on their skills to sell, to eat, and to grow their enterprises. So take a second and put that in the chat so everyone will know where to go to get this experience, please.
So the first thing I just put in their chat is my calendar link. So you can schedule time with me via Zoom or via phone call to have a conversation with me about what your unique challenges are and what I do, any questions that you have. If you want to witness one, what I would ask you to do is email me first and let me know that you're coming. And the reason I say that, and I put my email in there, is so that I can prepare you with what we're going to be talking about that week. And if I'm not the presenter, I may say, hey, look, one of my team members is presenting. Because the way we do it is we have a bunch of different people that are presenting. We'll introduce a topic like aligning expectations at the beginning of a discovery call. And then after we've outlined it, we'll go into a series of breakout rooms where you can apply these new skills with other professionals. And one of my people will be in there. So if I'm not presenting, that's great. If you want to see the schedule, that's what I just put in there now. I'm using text replacement shortcuts, by the way. You didn't think I was just typing this stuff, did you? I'm just hyper organized. There's no way I'm going to type it twice if I can type it once. So what you see there is a link to the calendar, the sales mastery Eastern time, 10 o'clock to 11:30 every Tuesday morning. And then we do a management session if you're managing people the third Wednesday every month from noon to 2. We just did that one today. So it'll be another month for
Where
you.
in the chat is this?
Okay,
I
Tim, we're
don't
not
see it.
seeing those in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm not. So let's
I'm
make
Oh,
not
sure.
either.
never mind. All right. I
Bingo.
figured it. All right. Here we go. Let me see what I put in there again. I was in the read instead of on everyone, I was on the other thing. All right. So here's my calendar link.
Thank you, sir.
Here's my email.
Got it. Got it. Perfect.
All right. And here's the schedule. I thought it was all cool with my test replacement, and turns out I blew it because I had the wrong thing selected. So now you guys are like, yeah, it's delusional. He's not cool.
Great.
So what else you got?
Who's got questions?
I figured I'd make it a little bit different than the last time, Scott, but still challenge oriented, just with a new tool. That's not even, by the way, Sandler hasn't even approved this yet. They haven't even seen it. When they see it, their heads are going to explode because there's a lot of proprietary content that this guy literally put in there in a day. I don't know how he did it.
So, Tim, I'm curious. I'm going to put you on the spot, but let's say Howard has 5 or 8 employees that all need to sell. Could you take this platform that you just created and obviously Howard or I would pay you a fee for me to give you my 90 objections and have you build a platform like this for a company? It seems like it'd be I'm creating a new business for you.
Everybody wants the shortcut, Scott, and here's the format in my mind. So the short answer is you can buy the book. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike in a seminar. Boom, there's the whole thing. The entire Sandler system is in that book. If I was going to be an NIA person, the book I would read is called Selling Professional Services the Sandler Way. And that book is an adaptation of the Sandler system for professional services, which is what I'd put you all in. Professionals networking together. So you can get a lot of information through reading. So here's the problem with objection handling is if you prevent the objections from coming up in the first place, then you're never going to have to do that. So if I don't give somebody the benefit of aligning expectations with an upfront contract, and I use a little jingle. So here it goes. Appreciation in time, your ideas and mine, knowing yes are both fine, and agreement on the rhyme. So that we can remember how to align expectations at the beginning of a discovery call. So here it is in play. Hey, thanks a lot for booking time with me. Any time constraints I should be aware of? Appreciation in time. Hey, you tell me what you're looking for, and I'll share with you what we got here at NIA. Your ideas and then mine. If for whatever reason you don't like them, no thank you's totally okay. And if you ask me to do something I can't do, I'm just going to give it to you straight. No and yes are both fine. If you like it, we'll talk about next steps before we leave here today. Fair enough? Agreement on the rhyme. So we got to practice that skill so that they'll have it. Those 9 questions that I rattled off. So let me go to techniques. Let me share my screen again so you can see it. This stuff's all in there, but I think Sandler's head would explode if I told him I was going to sell all this stuff through a platform like this. Here's all my 9 questions that you heard me ask earlier. What's the problem? Give me an example. Can you be more specific? Gosh, how long has that been going on? What'd you try to do about it? Why do you think that didn't work? What are the consequences of doing nothing? This is how I get them to experience the leverage. Oh, I gotta build a relationship by listening. I want them to understand where I come from, and I need to understand what their problem is. All of these are addressed in the pain funnel, believe it or not. So the short answer is, Scott, you could buy access to all of our curriculum, not this yet because it's not even Sandler approved, for $600. I'm happy to give it to you. But if you aren't going to look at it, then don't. I charge $1,000 a month per person to attend the training where you actually apply the stuff and then modify it for disc and mood. That was what this was all about, mood. I can't pitch somebody who's skeptical the same way I can pitch somebody who's cooperative. I can't pitch somebody who's ambivalent the way I can pitch somebody who's scared. So I've got to modify everything I say for disc and mood disposition. So that's a short way of saying we got a crawl, walk, run. You can read the book for 20 bucks, right? You can spend 600 bucks with Timmy for access to the entire system online for a year, or you can spend $12,000 with Timmy over the course of the year. Pay it monthly if you want to, quit whenever you want, and ask yourselves, why does the other clowns keep coming back? I shouldn't have called them clowns. Why do these other professionals that want to have a better life keep showing up every single week? That answer your question or feel like a dodge?
No, no, you answered it.
Okay.
Other questions? Anything? I find it so fascinating that so many careers go to college for years, and I'm just going to say maybe they make 60, 70, $80,000. Most of us learn how to sell on the fly. We might, over the 10 or 20-year career, read one or two or three sales books, but there's so many salespeople and people that own businesses that get very effective at sales that are earning significant income and aren't willing to invest. And if, as a 69-year-old business owner, if I could, I've always, since I was 30 years old, made my living selling. But if I had it to do over again, boy, I would have got engaged with education and mentorship and programs like this so much earlier, because it's just the return on investment is so significant. And what else can you do to move the needle in your company but create more sales?
Amen. So what did Malcolm Gladwell, how many hours did Malcolm Gladwell say it takes to become an expert on something? Anybody remember that?
Oh, I remember the book, but
10
100.
10,000 hours. That's a lot. Anybody know the 100-hour rule? I love this rule. If you practice anything 17 minutes a day for a year, you will have practiced it for just over 100 hours. And you'll be better than 95% of the people on the planet at that task. You don't believe me? Put it to the test. Pick up a guitar and practice that guitar 17 minutes a day. In a year, you're going to be able to play it if you're
I just
practicing.
heard something real similar to that today. Not exactly to that, but similar numbers, very close.
Hit me with it. I steal
I
ideas.
can't remember the exact numbers. It was in passing. I heard someone talking about it on a podcast or a TV about practice like that.
Love it. Here's my 10-hour rule or 10-minute rule. 10 minutes of practicing something is better than 10 hours of thinking about it, right?
Amen.
You got to put it
Amen.
into play. Here's my last rule. If I told you I'm going to come by your office in 10 days and I'm going to give you one chance to make a 10-foot putt, and if you make the putt, I'm going to give you $10,000. What are you going to do between now and next week?
Practice.
Here's the funny thing, though. Some
Spend
people won't practice. Why not?
You
I
don't get
studied.
nervous.
Ooh, they're
Don't think
nervous.
about it.
They don't think they can get any better in 10 days, so why try?
Well, no. Like some people do better if they just blank out and not think about it.
Okay,
Like just
I'm
go
going to
up
clear
there
my
and do
mind
it.
and relax and just go for it. Some
Yeah.
people, it's ego. I can't possibly get any better. I'm awesome. I'll crush this. 10-foot putt, that's a joke. It doesn't matter. All I know is that most people won't practice. And I think it's because they're afraid of being judged. The biggest fear on the planet is speaking in front of other people. I obviously don't have that fear, but that's not what they're really afraid of. What do you think they're really afraid of?
No rejection.
They're being
picking the
afraid of
wrong thing
judge.
to spend the 10,000 on.
What's that, John?
Picking the wrong thing to spend the 10,000 on.
Yeah. They're afraid that they're going to get judged by the people they're talking to. People aren't afraid of flying, they're afraid of crashing. Let's talk about what they're really afraid of. That's what we play with in Sandler. Scott, you're muted. Thank you for your
Sorry.
hearing, awareness, sensitivity training.
One more time, Tim, you would like people to click on your calendar if they like to schedule a time, send you an email first, you said?
Yeah, if you want to attend the session, email me so I know you're coming. These are clients on there, right? So if you're going to come, here's what I'm going to ask. Cameras on, doesn't mean you have to participate. You can just say, hey, I'm kicking the tires. Tim invited me. I'm just seeing what's going on here. So you can see if the environment's right for you. But I do ask that you have your camera on because I don't want people to think that I've invited people to spy on them. Back to being judged. This is a safe environment for professionals to figure out kind of what Scott was talking about. Communication is the most important skill that we fail to teach kids. That's dumb. We should teach them all how to communicate. I'm not talking about public speaking. I'm just talking about acknowledging people, asking better questions, listening skills, that easy stuff.
No doubt. No doubt. Awesome. Any other questions of Tim before we let him go? As usual, Tim, you added tremendous value. I'm just always fascinated, love sales. If you think about it for 1 second, how quickly it would be easy for you to recoup $1,000 investment for most of you, your ticket item. If you're selling, no offense, send out cards and you're making $40 a month. Okay, maybe you're not going to invest $1,000 a month. But for most of us that run a business, the investment pays off so quickly. So I hope you'll take a look at his offer to visit, click on the little schedule there and make that happen. Tim, we always appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for taking time out to join us, and we will see you next month. Thanks, Tim.
You betcha.